Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Tip Tip Tuesday. Yeah, I didn't even mean to say that twice. Well, y'all, for those that don't know who I am Deborah Franklin. I am the host of Church of Conversations with Deborah Franklin, which is our online um podcast and talk show. I guess you could say it that way. We have not been on in a while, but we will be coming back heavy and strong in September. So be on the lookout if you're ready to increase your visibility. But tonight I am here as Deborah Franklin, the publisher, where we are the publishing concierge, where we are your one-stop shop for all your publishing needs. We take your story from inception all the way to marketing, whatever you need for us to help you with telling your story. So that's why today's tip is all about writing. So many people have said, "Oh, I would love to write a book, but I can't write. I can't do this and I can't do that." Okay, your first tip for tonight is stop saying what you can't do. Now, you might be challenged in some areas, so I would suggest that you start working through those challenges and think about it. Everything that has a challenge or everything that's a problem, there is a solution to make it work, because that means that you might need someone to help you with your writing, or even get a ghostwriter where you can tell them what you're trying to say. Because sometimes I have to talk it through. Oh my God, my editor that is on the team for the Church Girl CEO magazine, honey. But it's many a time she has called me, "What in the ham sandwich are you trying to say?" Because it's in my head, but I didn't make it come out right. I didn't convey the message that I was trying to do. And that's why having a good editor on your team is definitely something that you have to have. And the other tip that I have for you guys tonight too is don't be afraid to tell your story. I saw an interview, I think this week or yesterday, sometime this week, with Gabrielle Union. She was talking about her past two books that she wrote, and she was saying that she just told a story, and she didn't think about, and she didn't worry about getting permission because that was her truth. She wanted to say what she had to say, and excuse me, and not feel guilty about it. And that's part of telling your story. Now, do you have to tell everything, every nook and cranny of it? No. Do you have to give away names? No. But there's a way to tell your story with um with finesse. I'll use that word. There's a way for you to tell your story that you don't incriminate or you don't hurt yourself, but there's a way to tell it that you can still get it out, because somebody needs to hear your story, because what you have to say is important, and it's valid. And the biggest other piece of telling your story is be authentic. Tell it in your voice. Tell it in a way that people know that, hey, this is you talking. It is so funny for people that know me and they have read my books, or people that have seen me speak places and read my books. The first thing they say is, "Oh my God, I felt like that was you just sitting right there in the room talking to me." And because I write like I talk, I write like we're having a conversation. So when you read, but that's my style. But when you're telling your story, just be your authentic self. If you don't talk with a lot of slang, don't use a lot of slang. But if you talk in a certain one kind of way, you be you, do you, and do you well. That's my favorite thing. And the other biggest piece, when we are talking about telling your story and being authentic, the biggest piece of all of this is when you enter into this writing space of writing your book, make sure that you know your why. Know your why you're doing what you're doing. If it's to, okay, so my why for my first book, I had several. The first one was I wanted to prove to myself that I could actually write a book. The second one is that I wanted to tell my story of hitting rock bottom as a woman in ministry, because I felt so many times that women in ministry, we tend to lose our voice or lose our space because we're afraid to tell our truth. And I wanted to let other women know that, hey, I've gone through this, I've experienced this, and this is a way for you to get over it. And another piece, the other reason why, my other why was I needed that release. I needed to release all of those things that I had been holding down on the inside of me, and I needed to get it out. So, having to deal with verbal abuse as a child, as an adult, how did I get over that? And that's part of, and those are my three whys for writing my first book. And when you know your why, it's easier for you to be authentic. It's easier for you to tell your story. And that's why you can do it. And yes, we can, yes, absolutely. Yes, we can be afraid of being judged. But that's where, when knowing your why, being judged doesn't matter. Because when you know your why and you're operating in your authentic self, the judgment, because everybody always say this: if Jesus was judged, why you think you didn't be judged? And trust me, judgment does hurt. Criticism, especially when it's not constructive criticism, it hurts. So just make sure, because to come over and deal with all of that is that and when you know your why, you can do it. And like, people can say what they want to say, because when you know your why, you doing this to accomplish with that goal that you have set out for yourself. And when you know your why, then when you start to write it, you start to develop. Now, this is one thing about working with my team. If you were to choose to write a book with our team at Deborah Franklin Publishing, or what we like to call DFP, then we're going to push you to tell your story. We're going to push you to say it, because a lot of times people say, I don't like, I won't, if you work with me and you use a lot of, let's say, a lot of church lingo, or you're hiding behind words, or we really don't know what you're trying to say, we push you to pull it out of you. Yes, it is painful to relive some of those situations. Yes, it hurts to think about some of those things that you went through to get you to this point. But it is necessary for you to tell that story. One, for you to get a release. Two, that you've been healed. And most of all, to help somebody else to realize that if you got through it, you were successful, that they can too. So those are some major things that you need to think about when you start to get ready to write that book and you want to tell your story. Now, if you have any questions about telling your story, yes, Trace, totally agree. Why plus writing equals freedom. Y'all, that's like real truth. Because so many, even in psychology, a lot of times they'll tell you, write a letter to that person that's hurt you or wronged you. You don't have to give it to them, but you write it, say what you got to say, burn it, and it's released. And that's really what happens when you write your book. You write it and you do it, and it's released. Um, Now I'm just gonna throw it out here. Did I get some weird looks and had some interesting conversations after I wrote my first book? Absolutely. Absolutely. There was some things that were said to me, and I was like, really? I actually had people coming up and apologizing, or no, the biggest one was somebody asked me, was that me? Was that me? No, it wasn't you. And I was like, it was just interesting to see. Oh, and I'm gonna give you this other tip. I didn't plan on saying this tonight, but the other thing is, don't worry about the length. Whatever God tells you to do just that. Because one of the biggest compliments, and I'm just gonna be real honest, especially as an educator, is that when people told me that my book was their first book that they ever read from cover to cover. Okay, so it was only like 87 pages, but it wasn't intimidating, and it had a workbook in it. So it wasn't intimidating to those people that were reading it, but it did something to me to hear them say that this was the first book they ever read from cover to cover. So those are things that, as you start to develop your why, and as you figure out why you wanted to write the book and discover who you are authentically, then you are ready to do that. Now, the biggest thing too is, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Hey, I'm here for you guys tonight on Tip Tuesday. Normally, I don't stay on that long, but if you have any questions about writing your book or telling your story or how to do something, tonight is your night. I am here for you. If you are watching the replay, you can definitely drop your comments in during the replay. I will definitely come back. And for those of you that know, we are leaving for missions. Praise God. We are leaving for missions We leave on Saturday. And so if you have been waiting to sow your seed, trust me, you still have time. And just in case you missed it, it is in the chat, but I will be adding that link again for those of you that that wanted to sow a seed to help on missions. Y'all, we have 2 orphanages that we're going to be working with, plus a women's group. Y'all, there's some big things that we are going to be doing in Nairobi, Kenya. I can't wait to get back and share it all with you. But the biggest thing is that we want to go and be a blessing to the children that are there. So use that link, sow that seed. It doesn't matter how much it is, but every little bit helps, because really and truly we'll be able to do, we're going to be doing, I think, from the way we have it laid out, we're going to be doing food at one orphanage, and then at the other we're going to be helping them buy books for school. So those are the kind of things, because they have to pay for their education. So we are coming to be a blessing, and I'm still here for you. If you have any questions, even if you have questions about missions, like why do we do missions, why are we going out the country? Well, honestly, Church Girl CEO, y'all, we have done missions right here locally as well. Part of our mission, one of our pillars is in Church Girl CEO is education. We were able to give 2 scholarships to two graduating seniors this year. So we are doing missions here locally. So we are going abroad. We're doing things here and abroad. And the Bible does tell us, go into the hedges and the byways and help, and basically help the people. And yes, I did paraphrase that, but but that is part of our why. That is part of our why of doing what we do, and showing up. And we want to make sure that we are able to continue to show up for you. And most of all, if you aren't able to sow that seed, make sure that you are praying for us, that God moves in a mighty way, that God opens the doors that we are looking to be open. And the major thing is that we find favor with the people that we need to find favor with, because favor will get you a lot. Favor will do a lot for you. But all right, guys, I just want you to know the biggest things for tonight. Your writing tips are: don't be afraid to tell your story, be authentic, but most of all, know your why. But all right, guys, I love you to life, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great one. And if I don't, I'm gonna try to. Just an FYI, I will be filling up your timelines real soon. But all right, guys, have a great one. Peace.